This mic's hot. Test. Uh-oh. Test. Whoa. Hang on a second. We got a problem here. We got a problem. Test. Whoa. Test. Wow. Test. Okay, that's better. All right.
We're on.
I'm going to shift this over. I'm going to put this there. And what do we have here? 4 people in the house. And there'll be more. We have been getting suppressed. So if you don't mind sharing to your page or to a group, that'd be cool. And if you don't, you don't. We don't normally ask that, but it's taken about 15 or 20 minutes for people to even see that we're on both. I just got a great message, but I don't think I should talk about it at this moment. But more magic in the air if you can just shut the F up and get out of your own way and face your stuff. We're all got to do the same thing. Oh my God,
That's what we're doing.
I'm already getting started. Like, what's going on? Yeah, it's a strange day though. Ashley Lee's here. For those of you who experienced the extraterrestrial encounter that we had on the show she did before she came to Sedona, which was about 10 days ago?
Yeah, about a couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was very galactic. It was very magical.
It was really funny.
It was very funny. And it also had a lot of code.
It had a ton of code.
Mm-hmm.
You came in through Mars, I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
Maybe I was over in Venus.
I don't know. But having dinner with you last night and listening to you, I was just cracking up the entire time.
Yes.
Very funny. Very funny. To be coming, some of the stories that came out of your mouth, it'd be different if it was like one of my homeboys, right? Back in Houston, or, that I went to school with, or, yeah, you're an outlaw.
An outlier?
No, an outlaw. Oh, an outlander.
An outlander. Yeah, there you go.
An outlander.
We like to fly around.
So, what do you want to talk about today?
What do you want to talk about? I love genetic emancipation.
Genetic emancipation. What exactly is that? What is genetic emancipation?
It's our opportunity to release suppressions in our consciousness that directly impact our genetic expression.
Okay, hold on. You're way ahead of us. What did you say? What are you talking about?
Our consciousness, our way of thinking, our way of expressing, our awareness,
right,
impacts our genetic expression in our physical body.
Okay, break that down.
So we could have negative thoughts or negative expressions, and cause charge, which then makes the molecules in our DNA move around, right? So the nucleic acids, the amino acids, they move around. And when they move around, they can cause distortions from what it is we actually want to experience in our physical bodies.
Okay. So can you tell me how can we mold ourselves in the way you're talking about molecularly,
cellularly,
yeah.
Improve our overall process, our overall being, our overall wellness and healthiness. Right? You had some healthiness situations come up for you today, right?
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
You're talking about smoking?
Smokelessness today? Right?
Yeah.
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 What's that about?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
You just got a hint that don't buy any cigarettes?
Yeah, I was just told.
Right. And what did you do?
I just didn't buy any.
Right.
Yeah.
So you listened to your inner guidance?
Yeah.
And so when you listened to your inner guidance, how did you feel? Did you feel emancipated or did you feel suppressed?
No, I always feel emancipated.
Right. So then you got emancipated into a new way of being because your soul integrated with your physical body.
Right. And so because I mean, there's so many ways to. What is it? Are we reprogramming?
Yes.
I mean, at one time I really believed that, but now I just actually feel we're just actually coming into alignment. We have these experiences, we have visions, we have prophecy, and it's actually just us seeing the alignment that's occurring no matter what. Look, I'm
And then
not
we get
good.
to choose whether to act on it.
Well, yeah, everything. That's the whole free will gig, right?
Right.
Which we think is regulated to this earth, but it's not. But what I was getting at is like the way I look at it is when I hear the guidance, that same guidance that's made me do all this crazy stuff for the last 10 years, 11 years, I always listen to it.
Right.
But I also am aware that there are other voices that aren't 100% me or 100% aligned with my soul. They come from me. They come from other places. The parts of me that aren't healed, that have a voice that has the ability to distort.
Yes.
And that's a very true thing. And I don't give a damn who you are, me, you, it doesn't matter
Yep.
what level of light worker or whatever you think.
Yep.
There are pieces of us that still speak to us, and we are not always looking at what we think we are or hearing what we think we're hearing. The ego is a very, very, very loud and powerful voice, and it's making its last stand for everybody.
Yeah. And even in the collective. Right? So when we become more unified with ourselves and we become maybe more heart-centered or us-centered, right? Centered on both of us versus me.
Yes, we. Yeah.
Then we start hearing a little bit more clearly, and at the same time, we may be hearing more loudly the collective consciousness because we connect with that. And so we learn the filters with ourselves, and what they are, and then we learn the filters of what the collective consciousness is.
Right.
And then we learn it inside of weather and our land, our planet, our host planet, our host solar system, right? Maybe that's why we're working with Mars and Venus.
We're definitely working with Mars and Venus. There ain't no doubt about that. Today, go ahead.
So in that area of emancipation, I'm writing a book now called Leap of Consciousness, and I'm coding and decoding and uncoding and recoding genetic suppression and then genetic emancipation in 144 spaces of DNA strands that we're all accessible to.
Wait,
so that first DNA...
You speak like a mad scientist. I remember you from previous incarnations, and I totally get your soul signatures coming through loud and clear, and the world's now ready for you. But what the hell? Hang on. So you mentioned 144 strands.
Strands of DNA.
Okay.
Are available for every human.
Okay. So
no matter what your age is.
Are there 144 DNA strands? Period.
Yes.
In the human. Okay. Because I hear people say 12 and this and that and all that.
But maybe a little more than 2. Yes.
A little more than 2. So okay. So what you're saying is that you're writing a book, and that book is going to address the reality of
144 strands opening in the atomic world, atoms that are actually nucleic acids or amino acids that form the DNA strands.
Okay. I'm slow, all right? So there's 144 strands.
Uh-huh.
You have intel, sacred wisdom, that explains that they're there and how to utilize them. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I'm not even working on how to utilize them yet. I'm working on more of how to activate them and really bring them in strongly.
Or maybe that's
day to day, moment to moment,
Yeah.
experience to experience.
Can you give us an example?
So the first strand, for example, is designed inside of this moment of separation from the creation that we are. So in our divine essence.
That's a strand. That's the first strand.
That's the first strand, the first carbohydrate strand, which is a sugar strand.
So what we're
that holds the DNA.
My God, you're a mad scientist. So when we separate from the Creator to go into these playgrounds,
Yes.
our vessel is engineered, designed with DNA.
Yes.
And the very first strand of DNA is the strand from that separation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's like
So the genetic suppression of that first strand is me. I've got to create. I desire. It's a need and desire to create.
Okay.
The emancipation of that is I consciously choose to create.
Right.
So when we separate ourselves from the very essence of what we are,
I got you.
then we can see ourselves.
I just got this one.
You
Tell
got
me
it?
if I got it. Okay.
You got it? All right.
So the very first strand of DNA, which comes from the separation from Creator, can be explained like this. If you're on the ass end of it, if you're on the ego end of it, you're going to want to create so you can have fame and you can have money and you can have
me.
recognition and right? But if you're on the good side of it, on the aligned side of it, then you're creating it essentially in the Trinity energy. You're doing it. It's all love. It's all service. It's all the same thing, and it's serving me, you, and the collective.
And I choose to create
Mm-hmm.
in the image of ourselves, all of us, not separate from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that first strand. Then the second strand, guess what that is?
The second strand.
So that double helix that we all experience as reality right now.
I would say the second strand is what? Gender?
Me.
I thought that was the first strand.
Well, the first strand is me because it creates a separation that's different from
What's
the
the
self.
second strand?
The second strand is me-centrism. I'm focused on me centrally and nothing else.
Okay.
So the genetic emancipation of the second helix, which allows us into the third strand, right? So that's the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Is us-centrism when we move into unity consciousness, which is really the truth of ourselves.
Okay, so essentially, strand 2 is either I'm going to be selfish or selfless.
Selfless.
That would be one way to say it. That's actually probably not the right word. But
but I think selfless is.
Let's say self-serving, regardless of what comes out of our mouths or whatever, and then the aligned part of it, the emancipation part of it, is the Trinity energy.
Correct.
That's just it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that third strand, what do you think that could be?
The third strand, I think, would probably be. What is that?
It's probably mine.
Oh, that's yours. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. It just freaks me out. I would say the third strand has to do with. I don't know. I'm going to say this. Love.
How about make wrong?
Make wrong.
Make wrong. Okay. I make you wrong. You make you wrong.
Yeah.
We make each other wrong.
Right. That's a fucked up one. I don't
yes.
like that one.
I think that's why it's been hard to open up 3 DNA strands.
Well, because look, I mean, you can't lie to yourself. You can't make excuses, and you can't blame other things.
Right.
And we know this. It's never them, it's always me. There is no exception to that at all. There is no exception. And for someone to say, well, that's not always true because so-and-so did this, well, you ordered that.
Right.
Period. And even if you resist it,
right,
and block it and push it away, it's coming right back because it's going to have a different face on it, most likely.
Exactly.
So, what is it? Why is it so hard for us to move away from what we know, and because we know it, and then we also feel it. It doesn't feel right to go pointing the fingers at somebody else. Why is it so difficult for us to stop blaming other people?
Well, because what is the emancipation? What is the genetic emancipation of the third strand?
The genetic emancipation would be that I'm taking full responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm taking every single thing. Like, I was telling Ty I was going through some stuff this morning, and he said, well, like, what are you going to do? Like, with the tobacco thing, and I'm like, I'm just going to take it one moment at a time.
Right.
I'm not making any declarations, and I'm not making any absolutions, because I know when you do that with the universe, you're just kidding yourself. But,
So when you have absence of make wrong, what do you have present?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I was telling that story, because all I can do now is be responsible, a responsible co-creator who is listening to the higher self soul that I am, that is in my body,
Yes.
and that I will declare and own. And as the human part of it, and maybe this is why we're talking about this, it, to me, like when he asked me that question, or you asked me the question later, I said it's just moment by moment. I can't talk about tomorrow. I can't talk about tonight. I can only go from this moment, how I feel right now, into the next moment.
And what does this moment feel like when you're in that space?
It feels free. You feel free. You don't feel constricted. You don't feel tense.
Could it be that other side of perfect? Could it be perfect? Everything's perfect in the moment, whether it's chaotic.
Perfect without obstruction.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I was sitting here and then something happened and I went, I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to go smoke. But then I went, no, I'm not. Like, because it was just a reaction, right?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. And so that energy of the smoking that brings to you, right? Maybe relaxation.
Well, it depends. At different times, it brings different things. No different than
Maybe
alcohol. No
focus
different
or
than
concentration.
marijuana. No different than sex. No different than shopping. I mean, sometimes I only want to, whatever I do, whatever we do, and as we go through the DNA strands,
Yeah.
ultimately, what is it? It's an unobstructed, free energy source, okay, because they have fractal, whatever, that is unobstructed.
Mm-hmm.
And in human terms, what that means is stay in your own lane, focus on yourself, let people be happy, let people smile, let people live, and that's what I'm going back to the same thing. Why is it so hard for us to stop externalizing? Why is it so hard? Is it been because the trips to Earth have
We
been
might be
tough?
hardwired to
Yeah.
perceive reality through our senses. And that when we relax our senses and allow them to expand, that's when we have our psychic experiences or our extrasensory, right?
Yeah.
Or our woo-woo experiences that are natural, normal, and part of our everyday life in every moment.
I've had 2 in the last 10 days that have just been absolutely, like, and maybe more, because I can't remember the nights, but
driving in the monsoon going off was
that's
in stereo while listening to the show.
see
See?
those things happen. So why is it so hard for us to stop externalizing? Why is it so hard for us to stop externalizing? And why is it so hard for us to say, I'm fucking sorry?
Really mean it?
But you realize how powerful that can be. First of all, to say to yourself, but to say it to someone else.
Yes.
I mean, this is the kind of radical behavior that's being asked of us, is to own our shit.
Yes.
And to understand that everybody's stinks, and we're all the same, and we're the only one taking it personal is ourselves.
Correct.
And therefore we are the separation, period. And I don't give a shit who you are and what you do. It all comes down to that. Right?
We are the separation, and how we separated, was it in a suppressed form or was it in an emancipated form? And we have that option in every moment to take that choice again and
That's
again
right.
and
That's
again.
Right. That's right. See, that's the great thing about this age.
That's why our genetics change all the time.
Say that again.
That's why our genetics change all the time,
Right.
because we have a choice.
Yes, and the great thing, because everyone's talking about embodiment. Honestly, I think it's more about, for most of us, it's got more to do with our development, our evolution of bringing the ego into alignment. I'll say it that way.
I think when we let go of needs and desires, like when we say, I need free will, or I demand free will, because we have an intrinsic right to have it. But if you need it, or you want it, or you desire it, or you demand it, you don't have it. And then where are you looking to have it? From something outside of us? because it really comes from inside of us.
Of course it does, and we know this. But how do we? What's the meat and potatoes here? Like, in other words, okay, like we live in an age when we've figured out that we can collapse timelines. That means we can collapse past, present, and future into one.
Yes, into now moment.
Right, and embodiment is embodiment. Embodiment involves the human on point, front and center, not some woo-woo bullshit.
Right.
Okay? So, if I can tell you, like we have a relationship. We steer through stuff together, right?
Right.
Like we just did this over the last 3 weeks.
Right.
Things happen.
Right.
The things that can happen, what is it? Murphy's Law would happen. But what do?
In the midst of chaos.
We have a conversation,
Yep.
a series of conversations where
Yep.
we put everything on the table. There's no BS, and we try,
Right.
and we recognize that we're together, and we're not working against each other. And I'm not assuming anything or insinuating anything, and you're not either.
Right.
That we're just, and I think this is crazy to think that this is where we've come to, and this is how we collapse timelines. But it takes the human being having some balls or ovaries to have a conversation and not poo-poo things away and not rationalize and substantiate things.
Or push them away or block them or deny them. Or...
Well, because that's the ego.
Right.
That's the ego surviving, so we can point the finger all we want. But I do think this is a great conversation, and I do think it's important to what's happening right now for people because they are finding their value. But at the same time, we got to stay honest about it.
Yeah.
And with each other. Gonads. He said gonads.
Is that our friend Dr. Joe?
Yeah,
he's
Dr.
amazing.
Joe.
Everybody's amazing. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
So does everyone know? I was looking at it. I had to pull it up because I was focusing on gene number 3, opening for all of humanity today.
I thought we were on the freaking DNA strands.
We are. That's what this is.
Okay, so you're.
I'm writing it down.
Oh, let me see. So number 1 DNA. Wait, that's not it.
Yeah, that's what we covered. Number 1,
desire, wants, needs. Okay.
And then the emancipation is co-creator.
Yeah. So, and we're on number 3.
Yeah, we were on number 3. So make wrong.
Oh yeah.
And then perfect.
What's number 4? Fear consciousness, love consciousness.
Right. So the basis of fear and love.
The basis of fear and love. Well,
Yeah.
fear is love.
Right. Fear is love.
Yeah.
Is love fear?
Is love? Well, yes.
It's a manifestation of.
Well, I guess in
right?
what
you created it, right?
In what
I don't think it was
context?
organic here.
Okay, so in other words, we have fear as an example. We have fear as a DNA strand, one of the 144,
Mm-hmm.
and basically,
When we let go of that suppression of fear.
yeah, we transform that into a strand of pure love, simply by making these very human choices that require you have some guts and some courage, because it ain't going away. It ain't going to go away. It's just going to come back with a different face on it.
So if you lived with one strand of DNA, that the first strand, which is conscious creation, I choose to be here.
Right.
I choose to create in every moment of my
Right.
life, whether it's fearful or loving. Right? And then the second one is I choose to do it inside of us. I'm not separate from the whole.
Right.
I'm not separate from you or anyone else.
Right.
And in that takes a lot of ownership, right? Like you talked about that interpersonal responsibility.
Yeah.
And then on the third one, we work on perfect. Everything is perfect in the moment, even if it's chaotic. It's still perfect,
Yeah.
as the chaos allows us to see a potential or possibility we didn't know was available before. So it helps us access that tension, or that stress helps us access more understanding,
Yes.
more awareness. And when we have more awareness, doesn't that improve our level of co-creation?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And really, because if you look at this, like I've never considered this. Like, and again, I know everything's.
I'm still filling in the blanks. I still got a long way to go.
Yeah, I can see that. But what I was getting at is, to me, like all of these run parallel. The
Yes.
math has changed. The quantum field's changed. Our abilities have changed. The old doesn't. It's not that the old won't work, and the old could be something that we invented or downloaded 6 weeks ago. What I'm trying to say is, though, I believe that you could line up all 144 of these, okay, and you could apply the same thing to one or all at the same time.
Right.
I really, and
So you don't need to open them up one at a time numerically.
Well, I mean,
I found that there are different combinations of DNA strands that light up that allow us to step into gifted states or genius states of being.
Okay, let's go into that. I just want to make sure I cleared the other one.
You cleared the other one.
The other one is like, in other words, it's the same pattern, the same behavior, the same thing applies in my mind, and I don't even know what they all are, to each one of these. And it's very human. It's a human making a choice that's paying attention to their body.
Exactly.
And what is the body saying to you? If you're uptight, if you're making up stories, if you're pissed off, if you're externalizing, then you know you're bullshitting yourself, and you're still over here on this side, not on this side.
Right.
But so I guess that was kind of where I wanted to just kind of see if I understood that right. Now, going back to the genius thing.
Yes.
Now, can you explain that? Because I know everyone here is a genius, and I'm watching.
Everyone is a genius.
Yeah.
And the genius that we evolve and develop and grow and emancipate and expand in ourselves is exciting, right? Those are called those aha moments. Those are called those sacred synchronicities with the world, right?
Sacred synchronicities.
Yeah.
Sacred synchronicities. Solid serendipity.
Solid serendipity. There it is.
Symbiotically, synergetically. Yeah.
Right? So we don't have to go in order in order to in order to have the whole 144 open, you don't need to have 143. You could have number 144 because it's a frequency bandwidth.
Exactly.
And so they all exist inside of us, but they're holographic right now. They're not materialized in the physical realm.
Well, let's talk about this because I think it's related, and you're a practitioner, and there's a lot of practitioners out here.
Yeah.
I come to you, and I have DNA strand 36, 37, and 38 are out of whack.
Yeah.
And so one way or another, I convey that to you. Our souls open up to each other. We merge, and you show me the way, right? I come out of
So
this.
let's talk about merge for just a minute, because I think people are really kind of confused about that.
Let's come back to that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We
Okay.
should explain that. I leave the session. My DNA strands 37, 38, 39 have been transformed, but
From suppression to emancipation.
right. But I go away for 10 days. Life hits me, and
Right. Your pattern might come
I
back.
reverse right back to the other one.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get to, and we'll talk about merging because I think that's a great topic. But so how does that occur and never go back, and why does it? You know
Well,
what I mean?
since earlier in our conversation we spoke about the distinctions of the individuated fractal me and you, and then we're pronouns, right? You're a you and I'm a me. You're a man, I'm a woman. You know, that kind of thing. So we have all these archetypal roles of our selflessness expressed in the physical world. So we create an archetype or a role, right? Everybody following?
Yes.
All right. So then when we create that level of separation, that can create some levels of distortion because the truth is we're all connected whether we like it or not.
Right.
And so when we don't like it, we start creating boundaries, protection, denial, blocking, pushing.
I know.
Want to punch somebody out.
That's right.
You know, all that stuff, right?
But here's the thing, right? And I understand the talk about the boundaries. We're going to get to the merging.
Yeah.
I understand the talk about the boundaries as an aspect of our evolution, but they're not going to remain. And as long as you have them there.
So when we have that second DNA strand open, that us-centrism, and we're really leaning in and living in the world of us and unity, it challenges us because now we start absorbing physically in our bodies everyone else's stuff.
Right.
And as a physical surrogate for myself, it's always been something challenging to work on. I didn't know that 80% of my illnesses when I was little was somebody else's. Because I was physically surrogating in, I knew that I was not separate from everyone else. But I didn't know that knowledge and that wisdom lived embodied in me was everybody else's illnesses and issues and challenges, even emotional ones, were coming through me and living inside of me.
You must have been really popular.
I'm not sure popular would be the right word.
Do you feel like you were hijacked, or do you feel like you actually came in here to actually do that?
No, I just felt overwhelmed with what was going on, and I didn't know how to navigate that overwhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I cried out a lot, saying I'm sick, or I need this, or I need that, and everyone said there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
So I look like a hypochondriac or very highly somatic, and I was highly somatic because I was literally feeling everybody else's stuff as real inside of me. It just hadn't been manifested physically in the form.
When's the last time you got mad and lost your temper?
I don't know.
I can't even see you losing your temper.
I do it now on a larger scale, on a collective scale.
Oh, you go into
groups of people, or groups of entities or energies, or
you
things.
go into the ethers and
I'm conflict resolving that inside of myself as I'm one with it, and I'm not separate from it.
Right.
And then when I do that for my individuated self in the fractaled environment of that oneness or that group, it starts to impact and influence that group with a ripple effect. That's supportive and positive.
How much time of your day do you spend doing this work?
You really don't want to know.
I do want to know. I bet it's almost all day long, isn't it?
It's all day long, and then it's very specific, at least 12 to 17 hours a day.
12 to 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you did.
We're here to help emancipate humanity from the suppression that they built inside of themselves that they didn't know that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And really with lots of love and compassion and non-judgment and understanding of where that comes from.
I think we're really close.
I think so too.
I really do. I think we're very, very close.
And so, like you were sharing, when we go into us-centrism and we accidentally feel the whole of the collective or the whole of the group that we're focused on, it could be all women, it could be all men, it could be all white people, it could be all black people, it could be all religious types of people, it could be any group in any format that we could focus on to support the emancipation of ourselves inside of that group, and then also the emancipation of the group because we feel we belong. We belong in every group, quite honestly, and then we start getting into the groups we really don't want to be in. That's a fascinating journey I've been on for at least a year now, being in groups I'm not really interested in being in.
Yeah,
it starts to change that reality in all of those groups because we start to move to a level of heart-centered consensus, and we start to move to different levels that we didn't know we could create, even if we were not so happy or popular or wanting to be nefarious, let's just say.
You are a full-blown E.T. You actually are. You're a full-blown E.T.
I don't know about that. I think we're all E.T.s.
Well, I know we're all E.T.s, but you're like, I don't know how to put it. You just remind me of...
It's just many of us come in with different levels of remembrance. And then when we're remembering it and it's wacky or it's kind of out of context, then we go, well, that obviously is from some other dimension. Right? It's from some other reality. And then I choose to connect to it because it came up in my awareness instead of pushing it away.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I'm kind of done with pushing it away. I think I've done that for
can't push anything
many
away
experiences, many other lifetimes.
And that's what gets me, You see people and they're writing about, and really, big props to all of us. I mean that. I'm trying to understand what is it going to take, right? And they'll talk about... what were you just saying? My 3D memory just left. It was perfect for what you were talking about.
Well, when we go into realms of
I know what it was.
Collective consciousness.
Yeah. But no, what you said, like something is presented to you, even if it's not yours, it's being presented to you.
Yes.
So it's still your soul bringing it up.
And it's in my awareness. Even when somebody else brings me a conflict, I said, "Thank you for involving me." Now I get to participate.
Yeah.
You're like, and most people are like, "Oh no, that's not mine. It's not my job. It's not my thing. I'm not part of that."
That's what I'm talking about. And by the way, you're funny when you get into situations because the language that you use is like the most diplomatic I've ever heard in my life.
I work with kids and families.
Well, so you hear this about. loving the triggers, running to the shadows, shadow eaters, shadow workers.
I never thought of myself as a shadow eater,
But
so I think it's funny.
But here's my thing. Okay, well, the idea being that if something makes you uncomfortable, take responsibility
And
into yourself.
Bring it in.
And bring it in.
And work on it. And work with it.
But what I'm getting at is that is the opposite of where we're coming from. And it's kind of like that old thing. Like, are you okay? I'm not okay.
Right?
A good part of me is okay, but there's always a part of me that's, I'm going to be fine. But if I
So when we're asking, I think, are you okay? We're asking for that vulnerable part.
Exactly. But
and would you be willing to share it?
Absolutely. But I'm talking about, like, to ourselves.
Right.
And then, of course, that ends up translating into what we tell people.
Right.
But, like, to go around and say, I'm okay, I got it figured out. To me, that's not pursuing the gold of the shadow.
Right.
That's still, and maybe you're not externalizing it on a person, but you're externalizing it, you're separating it from yourself.
Well, I mean, on the level of being a nurse, for example, do you like feeling crappy or do you like feeling good? Do you like feeling whole? Do you like feeling healthy or do you like feeling unhealthy? Most of us like feeling healthy, whole, happy,
yes,
organized,
yes,
clear. And so what we're looking to always reframe in our lives is that clarity and opening up emancipated ways of being versus the suppressed ways of being. So when we feel suppressed and stuck, I kind of go, wow, that's awesome. I'm suppressed and stuck. What is that about? What would I like to share? How would I like to change and reformat or reframe that for myself? And it really, literally is a reframing of our mind, of our emotional responses, of our values. I think that's been really challenging in the collective consciousness, is to change our overall values. Because we're so stuck on our attachments to outcome. And we're so want to be goal-oriented and success-oriented. And so then we believe that we have to constantly chase after that carrot, which is us. We chose to be co-creators. So we are the carrot, and then we're the chaser on top of it. So how would we like to navigate that process of what we wanted to create originally?
I'm just keeping track of time.
Yeah.
I have that radio show in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very very eloquent.
Thank you.
Very. Now, in terms of, like, okay, just this 144 thing.
Yeah.
Are you getting all that information from your self? Really?
Well, we're always present in the collective consciousness being on the shoulders of giants. So there are many that have come before us. So, for example, for this book with the emancipation of 144 strands, it came on the shoulders of, I suppose, the I Ching, and then it feels like human design, and then it feels like Richard Rudge-Jinke work, which is phenomenal. And then it's this work now that we're bringing in to energy mastery, sacred geometry, moving beyond numerals and astrology, and applying all of this in a unified field. And then when we live in our unified field where we live in 3D, 4D, 10D, 12D, and every other D that we've created collectively and individually, we then have the opportunity to bring all of our abilities into the corporeal body or our physical body.
That's right.
And live inside of that experience.
How long are you going to live this time?
I don't know. Someone asked me that. And I knew I've been immortal ever since I've been little and working really hard to leave the body. So I've had about 43 NDEs.
So, I mean, how long do you think you'll stay in this human body?
Well, I said 188 years. And then I said, well, maybe 388. So 388 is a very different format of living a life than it is even 188 or 100. So when I share with people all the time, especially people who are a little bit older or more mature and feel like they're aging. And I said, we're actually not aging. We just agreed with aging codes. So
Right.
suppress levels of genetic expression. When we live emancipated and I don't even think it takes 144 strands to become immortal.
I don't either. I don't think it takes a whole lot. I mean, if you figure that how many would you say out of 100, or what percentage of our DNA?
I've been mostly working with the 38 and under genetic expressions
so let's
of
say,
emancipation.
Let's say a third. Like, let's
I don't
say,
want to be too different from everybody.
Well, you can go ahead and be different. Were you a mermaid too?
I might have been.
I think you were a mermaid. Yeah, she was a mermaid. No, but like, I don't think it does take a lot.
No.
I always see it as dominoes.
So when we recognize we're immortal, and we live in that way, like you're juicing and not smoking today. See, so you're living an immortal life right now.
Don't stop making a big deal about that. All right, I'm just.
No, it's just fun, right? It's fun. It's fun exploration and understanding. But when we know we're immortal, then we're going to live our life very differently than if we think we're mortal.
Well, but I think the primary thing there at this point, anyway, it's not what we eat or smoke or drink.
It's not.
Or it's really how we
interface,
go from this side to that side on every one of these issues.
Right.
Is it is it concern? Is it care?
Right.
Is it fear? Is it love? Is it programming or like you said? I like what you said.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. Look, I'm an eternal soul. Right. What the hell can anyone do to me?
Nothing.
That's right.
And if they kill you, you could choose to come back again if you want to.
And I have.
We have. We all have.
I have on this timeline, to be honest with you.
I have 43,
simulations.
I have 43 times. I've had CPR and chest compressions as a little kid.
I didn't have all that, but I had 152.
The chiropractor had to unlevel it from my sternum. I'm like, oh, that's terrible, having an impression of CPR on your sternum.
Wow.
I was like, I don't ever want to do that to another person again. I'd rather support them before they ever needed CPR.
God, you're amazing. Like, so, and that's right, because, I mean, you were a pediatric
ICU, intensive care.
I'm going to sneeze.
Bless you.
Sorry. But you know what? Who cares?
You let it out. So when we're immortal, and we know we can choose...
We are immortal.
Right, we are immortal. But when we know we're immortal, then we choose to leave our body. Give it a big kiss and a big hug and say thank you so much for the life you've given me, the opportunity to live this experience life, to touch others, to impact and influence and support the world around us, to express the true loving nature we are. When we have that opportunity, then we can choose to leave the body. And when we leave the body gently just stops breathing. The heart stops beating. The brain waves cease to exist. And so the physiological systems go offline because the soul is no longer seated in the body. And so you choose to leave when you want to. And I sense that when we release religious indoctrination, other formats of cognitive bias, cognitive dissonance, right, us hating the way things are, when we moved out of those suppressed states, we start to emancipate ourselves. And then you inherently know when you're ready to leave the body. Like, today's the day. So it's kind of cute that we can format ourselves and say, I'm going to live to 188, or I'm going to live to 388, or I'm going to live to whatever. I just embody those intentions to see what it takes to live each day with that sort of intention and unprogramming all those aging codes. Like getting gray hair, for example. I'm 58. I decided I didn't want to have gray hair. So I don't have gray hair. I would like it to be blonder, but, I'll change that code too.
So how did you change that code?
I let go that you didn't have to have silver hair to have wisdom inside of you. That was, I guess, my programming. I'm pretty sure other people have different programming.
No, I think this is a really interesting. I've never really seen anybody talk about this. And that is, okay, so these things that we've accepted that are obviously deeply imprinted and obviously in our DNA strand, even though it sounds silly, but my belief about my hair, losing my hair, or my hair going gray, I never even thought about it.
Right.
Until it became what it's become. And so whether it's that or whether it's some type of other prejudice or bias or whatever it is, how specifically would we alter that?
We carry wisdom from the past, others that have lived in our behind us,
Mm-hmm.
our ancestors. And so when we start to understand some of those ancestral challenges or beliefs, cognitive biases, we call it, this is the way life is and this is how it is and it's
Right.
not going to be different.
Right.
When we let that go and we say, thank you so much for all of the beliefs and the systems and the values that you created in your lifetime, the ancestors. I love, honor, and respect you fully, and you lived in a different time. You lived in a different understanding. You lived in a different awareness that you didn't know was available for you to reframe now.
Right.
So, but we have love and loyalty to our ancestors, so we keep keeping those same patterns in place.
Right.
But it may not actually serve us individually and collectively.
Right. That's right. And I think that's how the energy is moving now. Things, we just have to be open. We have to be open that we don't know everything, especially when it comes to ourselves.
That's the cure to COVID, is letting go of the need to know.
Yeah.
And then when you let go of the need to know, what do you know?
Nothing.
And everything.
That's right.
It's a paradox and a conundrum at the same time.
Wrapped up in an abyss.
Exactly.
No, but seriously, the information, like being open, like what is, I was just talking to Ty this morning about some things, and he was just explaining to me what he goes through. It was just in a conversation. It wasn't anything. And he was talking, I guess in a nutshell, something makes me uncomfortable. I go into myself. I don't get hung up on that person did this or that person did that, right?
Well, the cool thing when we go into ourselves too, we can evaluate how we're receiving, even if it's coming at us from the outside.
Right.
We can say, how am I receiving this? How am I working through this?
Yeah.
How is this landing for me? Do I have restrictions? Do I have resistances? And then if I do, what can I do to open my energy and allow that energy to flow? Because quite often, then we can send that reframed energy back to the very collective or person that sent it to us.
Well,
and they start to shift too.
Right.
It may not be perfect in the sense that they're going to give us a call and say, I'm sorry I did that to you, or whatever, right? They may not know how to take interpersonal responsibility just yet. You're giving them a moment of reprieve and understanding that they can choose to do something different.
And I guess the biggest domino in human terms would be love, self-love.
Absolutely.
How? Because obviously that's the measuring stick. And you can watch anyone for 24 hours like a fly on the wall, and you can see where their love is for themselves, period. You can see by their muscles, tenseness or relaxedness. You can tell by their face, their frown or their smile, the spark or not in their eyes. I mean, there's just so many ways. How do we consistently bring ourselves to a higher level of love and respect for ourselves? Because we know that's going to make... a
lot of us believe that forgiveness is the most important part. And I found that we don't really need forgiveness in the absence of judgments.
Right.
So said another way, when we don't have judgments, there aren't any needs for forgiveness.
Exactly.
So even when somebody did a heinous activity, we could say, wow, that's a heinous activity. And we could approach the person and say, without any judgment, without any emotional charge, we could say, how would you like to correct that?
Right.
Because it did create damage. It did create problems for people.
Right.
Including me. So as you would like to have a relationship with me, how would you like to restore or repair that situation that you just did?
That's right. Because you're going to have to repair it somewhere or another.
Somewhere or another.
Could be another person, could be another lifetime. God, I hope not.
That's our karmic cycles that we keep collapsing, and we're zero pointing them, not to just zero them out because we want to avoid them. We're actually truly zeroing them by recognizing we take interpersonal responsibility for them and releasing the judgments about them and choosing now to create solutions based in love versus solutions based from fear.
Perfect. We have to do this again.
Let's do it again.
We'll do it again tomorrow, because I've got to get on a radio show.
That's perfect.
Yeah, they're calling me now. So, Alan and Sandra from Truth Frequency Network, and I believe I'll I'll put it on my. Let me see. I'll put it on my page. Let's see. And that way, if anybody wants to listen to it or come into the chat, that's cool. I'm sure they would love that. Here. All right. And here. They're going to be at Soulogy Fest.
Awesome.
They're actually going to do their show, which is every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually going to do their show from on the stage.
Wow.
So we're gonna shoot it live, and they'll carry the audio as they normally do onto their platform.
That's fabulous.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be back, and with the incredible Ashley Lee, also known as the extraterrestrial. Peace out.
Love.
All right.